The single most attractive thing a man can do has nothing to do with what he says, what he owns, or even what he looks like. It's a tiny, almost invisible shift in his presence that makes a woman feel completely, utterly safe to be herself around him. And 99% of men will go their entire lives without ever understanding this. I remember this one date I went on a few years ago. Let's call him Alex. On paper, Alex was perfect. He was a doctor, handsome in that classic, sharp jawline kind of way, and he took me to a fantastic restaurant. The conversation was good, he was smart, asked questions, and laughed at my jokes. By all accounts, it should have been a great date. But the entire time, I felt like I was holding my breath. There was this invisible wall between us. The connection felt hollow, like we were both playing a part. He said all the right things, but I didn't feel anything. A few months later, I was with a group of friends at this incredibly crowded outdoor market. It was loud, chaotic, and people were bumping into us from every direction. I was with a guy, let's call him Ben. Ben wasn't a doctor. He wasn't classically handsome like Alex. We were just friends, navigating this human traffic jam. As we squeezed between a food stall and a throng of people, he moved slightly behind me, placed his hand on the small of my back, and just guided me forward. It wasn't a grab. It wasn't possessive. It lasted maybe 3 seconds. But in that tiny moment, something shifted. The chaos around me seemed to quiet down. It was a simple, silent gesture that said, "I'm aware of you. I've got this. Follow my lead." It was protective without being controlling and confident without being arrogant. And my nervous system, in a way I can't fully explain, just relaxed. I felt completely safe. And that's when it hit me. What we, as women, perceive as being turned on isn't just about a checklist of physical attributes or a man's resume. It's about a deep, subconscious feeling of psychological safety. The tiny moves that truly captivate a woman aren't seduction tactics. They are signals. They're nonverbal ways of communicating. I'm present, I'm aware, and you are safe with me. And understanding that difference is the entire key to becoming unforgettable. If you're only focused on the perfect thing to say, you're missing the entire conversation. So stick with me, because we're about to decode the silent language that builds real, lasting attraction. And the last point we'll cover is the one that separates the men who are liked from the men who are respected, trusted, and deeply desired. Pillar 1, the language of presence. Before a woman can feel safe with you physically, she has to feel safe with you mentally. And the loudest signal you can send that you're a safe harbor is your presence. Most men think they're present, but they're actually just waiting for their turn to talk, to impress, to solve. Move number 1, listening that makes her feel seen. I have a very close friend, we'll call her Sarah. Sarah is brilliant, funny, and successful, but she used to have this recurring issue in her relationships. She'd come home after a stressful day at work, venting about her boss or a project that went wrong, and her boyfriend would immediately go into fix-it mode. "Well, you should just tell your boss this, or why don't you organize the project like that?" He was trying to help. He thought he was being a good partner, but all it did was make her shut down. One evening, she called me, completely exasperated. She said, "I don't need a consultant, Olivia. I need a partner. I just want to feel like he's on my team, that he gets it." He was hearing the words, but he wasn't listening to the emotion behind them. He was treating her problem like a math equation to be solved, not a feeling to be witnessed. Now, contrast that with a man I once knew. I was going through a complicated family situation, and my mind was a tangled mess of anxiety and confusion. One night, I just started talking, rambling really, for probably 20 minutes straight. He didn't say a word. He didn't nod enthusiastically or say, "uh-huh," every 10 seconds. He just sat across from me, his phone nowhere in sight, and he listened. His gaze didn't wander. He wasn't formulating his response. He was simply holding space for my chaos. When I finally ran out of steam, he was quiet for a moment, and then he said, "That sounds incredibly heavy. I can't imagine how exhausting that must be to carry." And I almost burst into tears. Not from sadness, but from relief. For the first time, I didn't have to defend my feelings or explain them. They were just accepted. In that moment, he didn't solve a single one of my problems. But he did something far more important. He made me feel sane. He made me feel seen. That kind of listening is so rare, and it's an absolute magnet for a woman's trust and, ultimately, her desire. Because when she feels emotionally heard, her body responds physically. The more she trusts you with her mind, the more she'll trust you with her body. Move number 2, laughter that breaks the script. We've all been on those painfully formal first dates. The ones that feel like a job interview. You're both on your best behavior, asking a checklist of questions. So, what do you do? Do you have any siblings? What do you like to do for fun? It's polite, it's safe, and it's usually incredibly boring. Attraction doesn't grow in a sterile, scripted environment. It needs a spark. I went on a date once where everything was going fine. It was perfectly pleasant. We were at a nice bar. The drinks were good. Then the waiter, who was clearly flustered, accidentally knocked a full glass of water right into my lap. It was that awkward moment where time freezes. He was mortified, apologizing profusely. I was trying to be gracious, saying, it's fine, while feeling the cold water soak through my jeans. My date could have done a million things. He could have overreacted, gotten angry at the waiter, or made a big, theatrical show of helping me clean up. Instead, he just looked at me, then at the puddle on the floor, and with a completely straight face, he said, well, I was going to wait until the end of the date to tell you I find you breathtaking. But I guess the universe wanted to get you dripping wet for me sooner. It was so unexpected, so perfectly timed, and just the right amount of cheeky that I burst out laughing. A real unguarded belly laugh. And just like that, the script was broken. The tension vanished. We weren't two strangers on a job interview anymore. We were two people sharing a genuinely funny human moment. When you can make a woman laugh, not a polite chuckle, but a real, spontaneous laugh, her body releases oxytocin. It's the same bonding chemical that's released during deep connection and intimacy. You are literally, on a biological level, rewiring her brain to associate you with safety, joy, and connection. Most men are too afraid to do this. They're so focused on being impressive, on seeming cool and mysterious, that they forget to be human. But a man who can use humor to gently tease, to lighten the mood, or to even poke fun at himself shows a deep, unshakable confidence. It says, I'm so comfortable in my own skin that I don't need this moment to be perfect. And that is incredibly attractive. Pillar 2, the language of protection. This is a concept that has been twisted and misunderstood for years. When I say women are attracted to a man's ability to protect, I'm not talking about physical intimidation or being a tough guy. I'm not suggesting she's a damsel in distress. The modern woman doesn't need a bodyguard. What she craves is a man whose presence signals emotional and psychological safety. It's a feeling, an energy you project that says, in a chaotic world, I am a point of stability. Move number 3, the subtle back touch of guidance. Let's go back to that story at the market. That simple touch to the small of my back. Why was it so powerful? Because it operated on a primal level. In a physically overwhelming environment, it communicated leadership without a single word. It said, stick with me, I'll clear the path. Most men get this wrong in one of two ways. They're either too timid, afraid to initiate any touch for fear of being creepy, so they keep a sterile distance. Or they are too aggressive. They grab her hand forcefully, put a possessive arm around her shoulder, and it feels like they're marking their territory. It feels controlling. The sweet spot is a brief, gentle, and confident touch that is functional. You're guiding her through a door you're holding open. You're navigating her through a crowd. You're subtly alerting her to a step she might not see. The key is that the touch has a purpose beyond just touching her. It's firm but light, and it's momentary. You don't linger. This gesture is a microcosm of a healthy masculine-feminine dynamic. It's you, taking a moment of gentle, decisive leadership, allowing her to relax and follow for a beat. It's a dance, and when it's done right, it makes her feel cared for, not controlled. It's one of the most powerful, unspoken ways to build a sense of trust and polarity. And I have to wonder, men watching this, is this a gesture you've ever felt hesitant to use, Worried about how it might be perceived? Let's talk about that in the comments, because the intention behind it is everything. Move number 4, the anchor in her emotional storm. Every person, man or woman, will face moments of intense emotional turmoil. A crisis at work, a conflict with family, a wave of anxiety that comes from nowhere. Here is where the boys are separated from the men. A boy, when faced with a woman's intense emotions, her anger, her sadness, her fear, will do one of 3 things. He will try to fix it, he will dismiss it, or he will run from it, because her emotional storm makes him uncomfortable. A man, however, will become the anchor. I'll never forget a time a few years back when I received some devastating news about a family member's health. I was a wreck. I wasn't just sad, I was shattered, cycling through fear, anger, and grief. The man I was with at the time came over. I was expecting him to say things like, "It's going to be okay," or "You have to be strong." The typical platitudes that don't really help. He didn't. He walked in, took one look at my face, and just wrapped his arms around me. And he said nothing. As I cried, he just held me. When I started ranting in anger, he just listened, his expression calm and steady. He didn't flinch. He didn't absorb my panic. He didn't try to talk me out of my feelings. He just held his ground. His calm presence became a container for my chaos. In that moment, he didn't fix my problem, but he gave me the emotional safety to fall apart, knowing he wouldn't break with me. That is protector energy. It's not about shielding her from the world. It's about creating a space where she doesn't have to shield her true self from you. The paradox is that she doesn't need you to fix her. She needs to feel that she never has to fix you. When you can remain steady in her storm, she will trust you on a level that words can never reach. You become her rock. Pillar 3, the language of an anchored man. All the moves we've discussed so far mean nothing if the man performing them isn't grounded within himself. A woman is not attracted to a collection of techniques, she's attracted to the core of the man. And a man who is anchored in his own purpose, his own values, and his own life is magnetic. Move number 5, having a mission that's bigger than her. I once dated a man who was absolutely wonderful. He was kind, attentive, and he adored me. In the beginning, it was intoxicating. He wanted to spend every moment with me. His world, it seemed, revolved around making me happy. But after a few months, a strange feeling started to creep in. It felt suffocating. His lack of personal ambition or a driving purpose outside of our relationship meant that I had become his entire world. The pressure was immense. Contrast that with a man whose life has a direction. It doesn't have to be changing the world. It could be building his own business, mastering a craft, training for a marathon, or creating art. It's not about the mission itself. It's about the energy it creates in him. A man with a mission has a fire in his eyes. He has a reason to wake up in the morning that isn't solely dependent on her approval. And here's the counterintuitive part. When you place your mission as your priority, she doesn't feel neglected. She feels safer. Why? Because she knows she is with a man who has his own internal engine. A man who won't collapse if she has a bad day or needs space. A man who won't lose himself in her. This creates respect, and respect is a non-negotiable ingredient for long-term desire. She wants to be a vital, cherished part of your journey, not the entire destination. When you chase your purpose with passion, you don't have to chase women. You attract them through a sort of gravitational pull. Move number 6, intentional self-presentation. The original video, you might have seen this idea in mentioned beards, and while there's some truth to the primal signal a beard can send, it misses the bigger, more important point. It's not about the beard. It's about intentionality. Whether you are clean-shaven, have a beard, wear suits, or wear band t-shirts, the attractive quality is the sense that you have made a conscious choice. Your appearance is a reflection of who you are, not a random collection of clothes you threw on. It communicates self-respect. Think about it. When you see a man who is clearly comfortable and confident in his own style, whatever that style is, it's compelling. He's not desperately trying to follow trends. He's not wearing what he thinks he should wear to get women. He's wearing what makes him feel like himself. This is a subtle signal that his sense of self is not up for debate. It's stable. It's anchored. This applies to grooming, to fitness, to the way you carry yourself. It's the difference between a man who just lets life happen to him and a man who deliberately sculpts his life, starting with himself. It's a quiet form of discipline, and that discipline is a deeply masculine, attractive trait. It shows you value yourself, and that teaches her how she should value you too. Pillar 4, the language of polarity. Once you've built a foundation of safety, trust, and respect, you need one more element to keep the spark alive, especially in long-term relationships. That element is polarity, the dance between the masculine and feminine energies. Routine and predictability are the silent killers of this dance. Move number 7, the intentional touch of desire. There's a world of difference between a touch that asks, "Can I?" and a touch that says, "I want you." The first is tentative and approval-seeking. The second is confident and creates a spark. Let's talk about the hair touch. When it's done wrong, too early, too mechanically, it's cringeworthy. It feels like a pickup artist move he read in a book. But when it's done right, it's electric. The moment is earned. You're deep in conversation, the connection is real, and she says something vulnerable or funny that makes you see her in a new light. And in that moment, without breaking eye contact, you slowly reach out and gently tuck a stray strand of hair behind her ear. It's a gesture of pure focus. It says, in this moment, nothing else exists but you. It's tender, it's intimate, and it's deeply connecting. The same goes for touch before intimacy. For so many women, the lead-up is just as, if not more, important than the main event. Most guys just go for the kiss or the direct initiation. But a man who understands polarity knows how to build tension. He'll offer a shoulder rub while they're on the couch, with no expectation attached. He'll gently trace a finger along her arm while they're talking. These are non-sexual